I'm 72, and I've learned that age doesn't arrive like a birthday cake. It arrives like mail, a thin envelope, a stiff corner, a number printed in ink that assumes you're either careful or already dead. On Tuesday, March 5th, 2024, at 6:18 a.m., my kitchen smelled like burnt toast and old coffee. The kind of coffee you make because you've made it that way for 30 years, not because it tastes like anything worth celebrating. The toaster lever on my counter sticks halfway down, so I hold it with my thumb until it clicks. The kettle wheezes like a smoker. The clock over the stove is 6 minutes fast because Margaret used to swear that it made me move with purpose. Margaret's been gone 8 years. The house still holds her in the small places. The crochet pot holder on the oven handle. The faded grocery list magnet shaped like a red apple. The dent in the hallway wall with a vacuum bumped every spring cleaning. I live alone now, which is a polite way of saying I talk to appliances. Good morning, I mutter to the fridge when it groans. Don't start with me. My phone sat face down near the sugar bowl. An old Samsung with a cracked corner and a rubber case that makes it look like it came out of a construction site. It still makes calls. It still records. At my age, that's 2 miracles in one object. The call came at 7:02 a.m. Dad, my daughter said, bright and quick, like she was smiling into the receiver. You up? I've been up, I said. The sun was late. I wasn't. She laughed in that practiced way, like a cashier who's heard the same joke and wants you to leave feeling good about yourself. I was thinking, she said, you shouldn't be dealing with bills anymore. It's stressful. Let me handle it. I stared at the table where Margaret used to sit and peel oranges with her thumbnail. My daughter, Rachel, had always been good at sounding like the responsible adult. Even as a teenager, she could make a mess and then explain it like a 5-step plan toward improvement. Handle it how? I asked. I'll just organize everything, she said. You give me the logins. I'll make sure nothing gets late. You've had a lot on your plate. My plate, at that moment, was a piece of toast with one burnt corner and margarine that didn't spread right. I'm not late, I said. I'll pay on time. Dad, she sighed, stretching my name into a small scolding. I'm trying to help. And you know prices now. Utilities. Insurance. It's a lot. What she meant was, you're old. Let me take the wheel. And here's the ugly truth. When you've been alone long enough, help starts to look like love from a distance. 2 days later, she arrived with a tote bag and a laptop. Rachel smelled like expensive shampoo and sweet perfume. The kind of scent that stays in a room after a person leaves, like a signature. She sat at my kitchen table, opened her laptop, and made a show of clicking through tabs. Okay, she said, pulling her hair into a tight ponytail. We're going to set you up with automatic payments. And Dad, don't freak out. Your checking account is kind of messy. Messy, I echoed. Lots of little charges, she said, as if she was translating a foreign language. CVS, grocery, that hardware place you love, you got a bunch of subscriptions you probably forgot about. I don't have subscriptions. You'd be surprised, she said. And she said it like she wanted me to feel silly. People your age get signed up for things without realizing. People your age. I hate that phrase. It always comes with a pat on the head. Still, I let her work. I poured her coffee. I watched her fingers move fast. I watched her face go serious in the glow of the screen. Serious, like a nurse checking vitals. What's the easiest way, she asked. I write checks, I said. Rachel winced. Okay. No, we're going to modernize you. She opened an app on her phone and turned it toward me. Zelle, she said. It's secure. Instant. You send money, and I can pay your bills immediately, no delays. I can pay my own bills, I said, but my voice didn't have teeth. Dad, she said, softer now. I'm not trying to take over. I'm trying to make your life easier. That sentence, said in the right tone, can get people to sign away more than money. So I did what lonely people do when someone offers to make life easier. I agreed. On March 12, 2024, at 3:41 p.m., I sent my first Zelle transfer to Rachel. $1,250. Memo, utilities and insurance. She texted back immediately, got it. Love you. A week later, $2,000. Memo, property tax installment. Then $3,500. Memo, medical bills. It was like feeding a parking meter. You keep putting quarters in because you're afraid what happens when time runs out. And every time, she'd reassure me. It's under control, Dad. You're doing great, Dad. Don't worry about anything, Dad. For a little while, I didn't. By April, Rachel had reorganized my life into neat little categories she understood better than I did. She made lists. She made calendars. She set alarms on my phone like I was a child who might forget to breathe. She'd come over on Saturdays with iced coffee in a clear plastic cup and a bright straw. She'd talk fast, like she had to outrun silence. You're lucky, she'd say. Some parents have kids who don't care. I'd nod because what else do you do when your own child tells you you're lucky? But the numbers were growing. On April 3rd, $4,200, roof repair deposit. On April 18th, $2,700, health insurance premium. On May 6th, $5,000, back taxes, don't panic. Don't panic. That became her favorite phrase. The funny thing about being an older man is you can feel panic without showing it. You learn to keep your face neutral because the world loves calling you confused. So I kept my face neutral, but I noticed the small things. Rachel's nails, suddenly long and glossy, the color of cherries. Rachel's new phone, one of those thin rectangles that looks like a piece of black glass. She set it on my table like it was nothing. Rachel's stories. I'm exhausted, she'd say. Work is killing me. Yet her Instagram, she'd show me once proudly like it was a resume, had pictures of brunch, ocean views, a hotel robe, a caption that said needed this, needed this. I didn't say anything. I also noticed how she started reacting when I asked questions. Which bill was that $3,500 again? I asked one day, casual as I could make it. Her eyes sharpened. Not angry, just alert. Like a cat hearing it can open. Dad, she said, I already told you. Medical stuff. You don't want to deal with the details. I can deal with details, I said. She sighed like I'd asked her to do a chore. Why are you stressing yourself out, she asked. This is exactly what I'm trying to prevent. There it was, the twist. My questions weren't normal curiosity. They were stress. They were confusion. They were a symptom. And symptoms in Rachel's world meant she had more power. By early June, I had sent Rachel $62,000 total. I didn't know it yet. I just knew my savings looked thinner. My checking account felt like it had a leak. One night on June 11th, 2024, at 9:26 p.m., I stood at my kitchen sink washing a plate that didn't need washing. It was clean. I washed it anyway because my hands needed something to do. I looked at the window over the sink, the reflection of my face staring back at me. A little older, a little more tired, a little more like my father. I heard Margaret in my head, gentle but firm. Don't let anyone make you feel small in your own house. I turned off the faucet, and I did something I hadn't done in months. I opened my mailbox and actually read what was inside. Among grocery coupons and a flyer for hearing aids was an envelope from my bank, paper, stiff, official. I hadn't requested a paper statement, which meant either something changed or someone wanted it not to be hidden behind an app. My hands are damp when I tore it open. The statement smelled like ink and warning. I sat at the table under the yellow kitchen light, and I began to read. The first page looked normal. Balance, deposits, my pension, a couple small checks I still wrote because I enjoyed the sound of pen on paper. Then the transfers. Zelle transfers to Rachel, lined up like a confession. March 12th, $1,250. March 19th, $2,000. March 27th, $3,500. April 3rd, $4,200. April 18th, $2,700. May 6th, $5,000. May 21st, $6,000. June 4th, $8,500. And more. I turned the page and felt my stomach drop, not dramatically, just quietly, like an elevator cable slipping. There were charges I didn't recognize. Not on my card, on a card linked to my account. Lux Resort and Spa, $3,146.88. Boutique Amara, $1,289.44. Sunset Air, $1,742.10. Mila Restaurant, $412.60. Rideshare, $86.23. 6 times in one day. My first thought wasn't rage. It was confusion, the honest kind. I stared at the line that said Lux Resort and Spa and tried to picture myself there. Me, in my flannel pajama pants, standing in a robe, sipping cucumber water. It was ridiculous. I flipped to the account details, and there it was in small print. Authorized user added. April 1st, 2024. I read that line 3 times. April 1st. I remember that day. I'd had a dentist appointment. Rachel had driven me because she said your reflexes aren't what they used to be. She'd held my phone while I sat in the chair. I'd been numb in the mouth and grateful for the ride. And sometime between the waiting room and my kitchen table, she'd added herself, not just as a helper, as an authorized user. I sat very still. I didn't call her. Not yet. Old men like me don't survive by charging into the fire. We survive by watching where the smoke goes first. If you believe older voices still matter, support this channel with a like and a subscription. I grabbed a legal pad from the drawer, the one Margaret used to write Christmas lists on, and I wrote at the top, dates, amounts, names. Then I made coffee even though it was nearly midnight. My hands shook a little as I poured the grounds. Not fear, not age, anger, arriving like weather. The next morning, June 12th, at 8:09 a.m., I called my bank. A woman with a calm voice answered. Thank you for calling. How can I help? I need to know, I said, who added an authorized user to my account. There was a pause. Sir, she said carefully, I'll need to verify your identity. I verified everything. My mother's maiden name, my first pet, the street I lived on in 1987. Then she said, I see an authorized user added online on April 1st, 2024. From where? I asked. I can see the device and location, she said. It appears it was done from a mobile device within your city. A mobile device in my city, in my daughter's hand. Can you remove the authorized user? I asked. Yes, she said, but I need to confirm. Are you stating you did not authorize this change? I looked around my kitchen, the pot holder, the magnet, the empty chair. I heard my own voice, steady as a nail. I did not authorize it, I said. All right, she replied. I'll document that. And I recommend you visit a branch for further review. Also, sir, because this involves potential fraud, there may be steps you'll want to take. Potential fraud. It sounded like a phrase meant for someone else. Not for me, not for my family. But it was my family. When I hung up, my phone buzzed with a text from Rachel. Morning. Sent your property tax payment. All good. Red heart? I stared at that little heart like it was something poisonous. All good. I opened the statement again and counted. By my rough math, I had transferred $62,000. But bills weren't what got paid. Someone's lifestyle did. And suddenly I wasn't confused. I was awake. If you want to understand betrayal, don't imagine shouting. Imagine a quiet man at his own kitchen table in slippers, building a case against a child he once taught to ride a bike. That week, my house became a command center. I laid everything out, the bank statement, receipts Rachel had dropped in my trash, my notebook of dates, my old laptop that takes 5 minutes to start and sound like it's breathing hard. I called the electric company. Is my account overdue? I asked. No, sir, the representative said. Your account is current. No past due balance. I called the water utility. Current, they said. I called the insurance company. Your premium is paid through November, the agent told me. No issues. I called the clinic where I'd had blood work. What was my balance? I asked. Your copay was $30, the billing woman said. Everything else was covered. $30. And I'd sent Rachel $3,500 for medical bills. My hands didn't shake this time. They went cold. I drove to the bank branch on Friday, June 14th, 2024, at 10:22 a.m. The bank smelled like carpet cleaner and air conditioning. A young man behind the counter called me sir. So many times it felt like he was trying to convince himself. A manager sat with me in a small office with a glass wall. I slid the statement across the desk. I want copies, I said. Everything. All activity. Authorized user history. Any card numbers linked. He glanced at the lines, resort and spa, boutique, airline charges, and his eyebrows twitched. Do you recognize these? He asked. I recognize theft, I said. He cleared his throat and spoke in the careful tone people use with older clients. Mr. Harris, he said, We can file a dispute and a fraud report. But because the transfers were initiated from your account. Because my daughter was sitting at my kitchen table. I cut in. He blinked. I leaned closer. I'm not asking for sympathy, I said. I'm asking for paper. By Monday, I had a thick stack of documents. And one more thing. A printout that showed device logins, timestamps, IP addresses, locations. April 1st, April 18th, May 6th, all from a same device. Not mine. I made one call that mattered. A lawyer. His name was Daniel Ortiz. A calm man with silver hair and a voice that didn't change when you told him something ugly. He listened while I described the transfers, the authorized user, the fake bills. When I finished, there was a pause. Mr. Harris, he said, I want you to hear me clearly. You are not crazy. You are not confused. And you are not alone in this. I stared at my kitchen wall, at the faded mark where Margaret once taped a holiday card. What do we do? I asked. We protect you first, he said. Then we confront the facts. Protect you first. No one had said that to me in a long time. Daniel helped me open a new account, move my income, lock down access, set up two-factor authentication Rachel couldn't charm her way through. Then he asked, do you want criminal, civil, or both? The question landed heavy, because it wasn't about money anymore. It was about my daughter, the girl who used to bring me dandelions and say they were flowers for a king. The woman who now told me not to stress when I asked where my money went. I want the truth, I said. Daniel's voice stayed even. Then we'll force it into daylight, he replied. Rachel invited me to dinner on Sunday, June 23rd. Just family, she said. You've been weird lately, Dad. Weird. That was the new label. Not cautious. Not careful. Weird. I went anyway, because I needed to see her face when she realized I wasn't the easy version of me anymore. Her house was in a newer neighborhood with matching mailboxes and lawns that looked professionally brushed. The inside smelled like scented candles and something fried. Rachel's husband, Tom, greeted me at the door with a grin that didn't reach his eyes. Hey, champ, he said, clapping my shoulder a little too hard. Champ. That's what men call you when they don't respect you, but want to sound friendly. The table was set nicely. Cloth napkins. A roast chicken. Wine for them. I drank water. Rachel moved around the kitchen like a host in a cooking show, laughing loudly, calling everyone hun. Her friend Melissa was there, plus Tom's brother, plus a couple neighbors. It felt staged. Halfway through dinner, Rachel raised her glass. I just want to say, she announced, I'm really proud of what we've been doing for Dad, helping him manage his finances, taking care of him. It's a lot, but family, right? Everyone smiled at me. They smiled like I was a charity project. My fork paused over my plate. The chicken tasted like sawdust. I wiped my mouth with a napkin slowly. I let the silence stretch just enough to become uncomfortable. Rachel, I said, what was the $3,146.88 for? Her smile stayed on, but her eyes flashed. What? She laughed. What are you talking about? The charge, I said calm. Lux Resort and Spa, June 2nd. Tom's brother chuckled awkwardly like it was a joke. He didn't understand. Rachel's laugh turned thin. Dad, why are you bringing this up now? Because you said you were paying bills, I said. I didn't know my electric company changed its name to Boutique Amara. A few people laughed. Small nervous sounds. Rachel's face tightened. You are confused, she said quickly, and there it was. Her favorite weapon. That's not what that is. You probably misread something. I can read, I said. Then I opened my folder. Yes, I brought a folder to dinner. Old men do that when they're done being polite. I slid a single page across the table toward her. A printout. Date. Merchant name. Amount. Her eyes dropped to it. For the first time all night, her smile died. Tom leaned in to look. What is this? He snapped. This, I said, is my money. Rachel's voice rose. Dad, why are you doing this in front of people? I leaned back in my chair. Because you did your little speech in front of people, I said. You wanted an audience when you were the hero. Her cheeks reddened. I've been taking care of you. No, I said. You've been spending me. Tom pushed back his chair. This is ridiculous. You probably authorized it and forgot. I turned my head slowly toward him. You're welcome to say that under oath, I replied. That quieted him. Rachel's hand shot out toward my folder, like she could grab the paper and make it disappear. I pulled it back. Don't, I said, and my voice had steel in it. Melissa, the friend, looked down at her plate like she wished she could vanish into it. Rachel's eyes glittered. You're embarrassing me. No, I said. You embarrassed yourself. I'm just naming it. She stood up so fast her chair scraped the floor. You don't understand, she shouted. Things are expensive. You have money sitting there and you act like you're broke. You don't know what it's like. There it was. Not remorse. Resentment. Like my savings account was an insult to her lifestyle. I nodded slow. So that's it, I said. You didn't steal because you were desperate. You stole because you felt entitled. Tom stepped forward. You need to leave. Rachel's voice sharpened. And if you're going to accuse me of fraud, maybe you shouldn't live alone. Maybe you need help. Maybe you're not safe. She said it loud enough for everyone to hear. Not safe. That's another phrase that sounds caring and means control. I stood up, steady. I'm leaving, I said, but not because you told me to. Rachel's eyes narrowed. What are you going to do, Dad? Call the police on your own daughter? I looked at her. Then I smiled, small, bitter. I already called someone, I said, and I walked out. On Wednesday, June 26, 2024, Daniel Ortiz sent Rachel a formal demand letter. Not an emotional letter. Not a please. A letter with dates, amounts, merchant names, and a total that didn't blink. $62,000. It stated unauthorized account access, misrepresentation, conversion of funds. It requested full repayment within 14 days or legal action would proceed. Rachel responded the way people respond when they've been caught and still think they can talk their way out. She called me at 9:14 p.m. I watched the phone vibrate on my table. I let it ring. Then I answered. Dad, she said, and her tone was syrupy again. Why are you doing this? I'm not doing anything, I said. I'm responding. She exhaled dramatically. You're letting that lawyer poison you. The lawyer is paperwork, I said. Paper doesn't poison. It records. Her voice sharpened. I paid your bills. Name them, I said. Silence. Then you're being cruel. Cruel. That word always makes me laugh now. Because cruelty is $62,000 wrapped in a heart emoji. Daniel filed a civil complaint. He also advised me to file a police report because the authorized user edition and certain charges met the threshold. Do you want to go that far? He asked. I thought of Rachel at dinner, calling me not safe. I thought of Tom telling me I probably forgot. I thought of her smile when she spent my money and told me to relax. Yes, I said. On July 8th, 2024, Rachel was served. A deputy in a tan uniform handed her papers at her workplace parking lot in front of coworkers. That was not my idea. That was just the universe being tidy. Rachel called me screaming. You humiliated me, she shouted. I held the phone away from my ear and waited until her voice burned out. When she finally paused, breathing hard, I said quietly, You humiliated me first. You just did it slowly. The case moved faster than I expected because the evidence was clean. Dates, devices, locations, spending patterns. Daniel hired a forensic accountant, an older woman named Janice who spoke like she was reading weather. Your daughter didn't just spend, Janice told me. She cycled. She used transfers to cover credit card payments, then freed up credit to spend more. She also paid for travel. And there are recurring charges consistent with luxury services. Luxury services, a fancy way of saying she lived high on my back. In court, Rachel tried her last trick. He's confused. He agreed. He gave it as a gift. But Daniel had printed out the text messages. Rachel's own words. Dad, I'm paying your bills. This is utilities and insurance. Don't worry about anything. Promises aren't legally binding, but lies are still lies. And then came the twist that made Rachel's face truly change. Janice's report showed that one of the larger transfers, $8,500 on June 4th, had been used to pay a past due debt not for Rachel, but for Tom, a personal loan. A loan Tom had taken out before they married. A loan Tom had hidden. When that came out, Tom's face went white. Rachel turned to him in the courtroom like she'd been slapped. You didn't tell me? She hissed. loud enough for people nearby to hear. Tom's jaw clenched. Not now. Not now. I almost laughed, because it was always not now when truth showed up. The judge didn't laugh. The judge looked at the numbers, the devices, the lies, and then said something that sounded almost bored. Judgment for the plaintiff. Rachel was ordered to repay the full amount, plus court costs and interest. A wage garnishment order followed. And because I'd filed the report, there were additional consequences. Diversion programs, probation terms, financial counseling requirements. Not a dramatic movie ending. A realistic one. Paperwork. Schedules. A monthly reminder that entitlement has a price. The first garnishment payment arrived on October 1st, 2024. $612.34. Not much, if you're thinking in headlines. But to me it was proof. Proof that I wasn't imagining it. Proof that I wasn't confused. Proof that the world still recognized theft as theft, even when it came in the shape of your child. I didn't feel joy. I felt a strange, quiet grief. Because money can return. Trust doesn't. I made changes, real ones. I put my accounts on direct autopay, utilities, insurance, taxes, paid straight to the companies, not through anyone's hands. I updated my will. I set up a revocable trust with Daniel's help, not because I was rich, but because I was tired of being vulnerable. I changed beneficiaries, not out of revenge, out of clarity. Rachel texted me once, months later. Can we talk? I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed back. We already did. In court. After that, silence. The house felt quieter without the drama, which is a ridiculous thing to say when you live alone. But silence changes quality when it's earned. One morning in December, I stood at my kitchen window while snow fell like someone shaking flour over the world. I made coffee in Margaret's old pot. I ate toast with jam. I listened to the heater click on with its familiar complaint. And I realized something simple. I wasn't lonely because Rachel had taken my money. I was lonely because I'd spent years accepting crumbs of attention and calling it love. Now I didn't. Now I had my own life again, small, ordinary mine. And the last thing I learned late but clean was this. When someone steals your money, they take dollars. When they steal your voice, they take your future. So I took mine back first.